So take it away, Dave and Mackie.
You know what? This is Dave
and Mackie.
Shiny Side Out on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio. I said that with a thick tongue. And on freedomslips.com. It's home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations in the chat room. And it's also a great place to get your merch. And if you didn't know, this is... Are you ready for it? Drum roll. 535.
535, 530 and 500.
Nice. Catch us, that is Shiny Side Out, online, on air, and anywhere on your smart device. So you can walk around anywhere. You can even be on the ISS and listen to us. Or if you don't like doing any of that kind of thing, you can simply... Here we go. You can simply listen on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. If you missed Solaris' show, you really did miss out. She had a great round table tonight with John, Ahmad Painter, who I'm actually missing like crazy because we haven't spoken for a million years, and Harry
1
Springford.
million.
That's 0000000 million.
Million.
Oh, I know. That's a MASH reference. That was when Hot Lips and Frank, they would say million, end up getting a kiss.
Yummy.
Did you know that the archives are free? And I hope you didn't. You know, I hope I'm not really surprising you because you already know that. You can jump in the chat room and you can go to the archives and you can listen to our show, Solaris's shows, or anyone's shows. You can download them as an MP3, which is really, really cool. But we ask you to donate. If you like anything we say, if we even slightly entertain you, just in the slightest, somehow, or you find something new, find out something new because we've given you the information, please donate to the station because it isn't free to run. We don't get paid to be on air. No host does. At least that's what they tell us. And do you know what? It costs money to run, so you need to donate so that we can continue bringing this awesome platform to you, and do that straight away. If this is on YouTube, hit like and even post a comment in the video because I do reply to the comments, and I would like to be able to have the algorithm lift our channel up a little. And you know, we've only got, I think, 1,400 hours a year before we get monetized again. I managed to clear up all of the problems that we had.
Yay, problems! Yay!
Crowd goes wild. Okay, so now the welcome to country. This the region that I'm broadcasting out of is Darkinjung country. And yourself, Mackie?
The Darak mob runs my neighborhood, baby.
Nice. And there was a footpath highway that went through this region, and this was where I live, where the Spaceman and Space Rock is, and Mount Yengo. That's the origin of the species. They said that the human species was created here in Darkinjung country. And it's the origin of the message stick that goes across the 3,000 kilometers of land, which was originally a messaging system of, you know, disseminating information across all of the mobs across Australia. Extraordinary that they had such a system. Probably the earliest fax, Becky.
Yeah.
In a way.
No.
Because someone had to carve it and carve copies.
No, I'm with you.
You know. Anyway, it was thin. So because of our jurisdiction in the world and we live on a continent whose, let's say the custodians of the land took care of it a lot better than we did. And so to that, we pay our respects to the elders of the native peoples, both past, present, and future. See how that I put both in there?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but then I said three things.
But you're saying things with your mouth, and the words come from your brain.
Wow.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So look, I've done the welcome to the country. That's good. So now we can talk about things. Becky, I was watching television this week. Surprise. And it was a little offbeat news article that wasn't at the top of the hour.
Okay.
Because, you know, they filtered those stories down to only what they really want you to hear. But throughout the hour, getting back to the top of the hour, they'll have little pieces, little grabs or stories from here and there. And it was a reporter doing basically a slap across the face and telling us, you know what, we're not out of COVID yet. And they didn't.
No, well, yeah.
There was no backup questions, and the hosts of the show said nothing at all. They just ran the piece, and then they just went on with the normal programming again. And I went, oh, okay. Surely, right? Because you know, got a bit tired of all that COVID talk. We don't have, as you've mentioned, Mecca, we don't have any of the leaders. Because, by the way, I love the leader. We don't have any of the leaders talking to us every day because it's such an emergency. And therefore, apathy is set in and, you know, we don't care anymore. We've even, you know, we don't have to wear masks now anywhere important except for hospitals, which is still remaining. Yeah. But even though they said it's across the whole country, it was really not for everything. And I went, oh, yeah, well, yeah, sure. We're still in the midst of it. Yeah, cool. Well, how much in the midst are we? And I looked up the numbers, and I was, what? Good grief. Uh-oh, my thing isn't showing the right screen.
Maybe.
No. Whoop. I'll fix that in a second. Yeah, it's like, what? Wait, what do you mean? And look, we've had 9,374 reported confirmed deaths without an autopsy to say the actual cause of death was the virus. But anyway, that's what the system says. And in the last month, we've had 1,275. 1,275?
But to be clear...
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, so... No, that's right. So more people have died, and I've said this before, this year, meaning January to June now, 2022, yep. And so 6 months, than in the previous 2 years in Australia.
Yeah.
More people have died in the 6 months period than in the 24 months period preceding this. And we used to have daily catch-ups with our state government, federal government. And
when we were losing lockdowns. 135 a week.
Yeah, and infections now, daily infections in Australia, which is funny, because the reason we're mentioning is because it's completely out of the news, right? We're sitting at about 25,000 a day. 25,000 a day. Can I give you some other really interesting stats, Dave?
Please.
So I did some math.
It's 186,000 a week.
Yeah.
It's what we're currently looking at. So
how much would you say one of these tests
I love these games.
PCR, red test, but how much do you think they cost?
I don't know, $10 each for...
Let's call it, $10.
Yeah.
Right? Let's call it that, $10, right?
Sure.
Now, how many tests do you think have been administered globally?
Oh, good grief. A trillion?
Well, no, that's 1,000 billion. No, not quite.
All right. I went high.
Yeah, no, you went to the sky.
Always bat high in the first innings.
So right. 6.5 billion tests have been administered, which means that somebody somewhere made $65 billion. Now, $65 billion is that's a lot of cash, everybody. So the pharmaceuticals, the test makers or whoever they are, that's a lot of hot potatoes. $65 billion in the last 2 years. That's how much this thing, just the tests.
Yeah, that's right. Just the tests
alone, it's enough to revive any economy. Think about it for a second. Just the tests, $65 billion. Not even talking about the vaccines. I don't know how much vaccines. Right. How much are the vaccines? $100 a pop, whatever. Anyway, just the tests, $65 billion.
Wow.
That's a lot of. I mean, that's serious moolah, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Right. So, and that's and the reason it is not as high as Dave said, of course, because a lot of countries, especially underdeveloped nations, etc., they just don't have the wherewithal to. Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, interestingly enough, India.
And a lot of them got donations. So boxes of rats were donated to small countries. Yeah. Somebody
had to purchase it though in the first place, right?
So, it was still purchased. Donated. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So in America, 1 billion tests have been administered.
Mm-hmm.
In India, 850 million tests have been administered. And then the next high is this, believe it or not, what's this? Spain, 470 million tests, which is really, you think Spain? Really? Yeah, Spain. And then, the UK is slightly higher, 500 million tests. So, UK, Spain. And then it sort of, peters down significantly into the 200 and 160, 150,000 tests, etc.
Well,
million.
Well, in the world, Mekki, right now, in the last month, we're 4th in the world for transmissions.
Yeah, we've got a high infection rate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the infection rate's still absolutely crazy.
It's through the roof. But because, we don't need masks anymore. We don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
See, the thing is this.
It's not killing as many people. Okay.
Look,
yeah, but it's certainly infecting a ton more.
It is. So therefore, more people should die as a percentage, right?
That's right.
Now, having said that, okay, I understand vaccines are
is it enough to worry about?
Get it, but now, so if these numbers had been with us last year or the year before, it would have been a catastrophe.
Uh-huh.
Right? I mean, forget about it. It would have been no more, help me, don't talk to me about these things. I can't take it. But now,
all right.
We don't even talk about it now. Go on.
So, not talking about it, of course, is I wonder what the current cross-section of those people who are dying from it are. That's a good question to ask.
Yeah, sure.
So I wonder who they are. Are they, under 10s? Say 10 to 20, 20 to 30. Who are they? Who are these people who are passing away from the virus? Because it just seems as though no one's caring anymore.
Because they're not useful.
Ah. So you mean they could be retirees or people like that, right?
Yeah, people that are no longer
actively contributing to society, except for
I was going to say they're no longer cogs in the machine, but yes.
Yeah, sure.
They're the rust. They're the rust on the edges of the machine. Get rid of the rust. Rust away.
Here we go.
WD-40. Gone. Away with your rust. Rust.
Do you know what? An arcing electrical field will get rid of rust?
I know, right?
It's really cool.
Laser too. Have you seen the laser?
Yeah, I've seen and suddenly there's no more rust anyway. Yeah.
You know what we need, Dave? We need more suicide booths. Suicide booths. That's what we need. Suicide booths. That's more. Why? What? Too soon? Not soon enough? I don't know, Dave. I don't know anymore. I've lost my moral compass. I don't know what's right anymore.
It's spinning around. My moral compass is spinning around. I must be on the North Pole.
What's going on? What?
That's when you become perfectly centered. It just spins around like a little top. The smart people hats with the little propeller heads. Yeah, that's what it is. That's when you have no moral compass. You're willing and open to anything.
Compass overrated. Morality. Who needs it? I went to a communion today. First communion.
Where did you go? Communion?
Yeah. First, like a whole bunch of kids, like some of our friends and relatives, they had a first
where you
communion
partly
today.
drown children. Yep.
No. There's no water
one.
involved. No, yeah. So, and I'm
that's being christened, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's there you go. And I'm thinking, it's just I'm thinking it's.
So communion, you eat a small part of Christ and drink a small bit of the blood, right?
Well, the Eucharist. I mean, essentially, you're eating a God. I mean, that's what they're saying. You know,
yes,
the Last Supper and all that. So you're eating his body, you're drinking his blood. I mean, that sounds like a I guess a vampire cannibal kind of ritual, right? But ultimately, it is somewhat disturbing to see when you really think about it. But no, I was looking at these kids and the priest was going on and this and that. And I'm thinking, it's really quite disturbing to me. I mean, people can believe what they like. I'm not going to judge anyone.
I mean, it's about 100% ritual.
Well, it's all ritual.
And 0%, truth. But does he have the key around his neck, Mickey, that's going to, when the fifth element arrives?
Right, eh?
Uh-huh.
You're gonna. Oh, sorry, no, you can't come in. The thing is this though. You look at it all, right, and they were preaching you should help your neighbor. You shouldn't let anyone suffer. That makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. But then I'm thinking, and then there's these little baskets where you leave your money, the collection things, right? And I'm thinking, the Catholic Church is so rich. Right? I make the same argument for billionaires, and they do nothing.
That's right.
Nothing that can be considered a permanent or a good solution. And they're talking about, you got to come and confess, and you got to come to Mass because that's the only way you keep the spirit of the Eucharist alive. Blah 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 blah. And I thought, these people, they're here because it's comfortable to be here and be told what it is. It's a lot harder to try and figure it out for yourself. And that's why it's such a genius thing. I mean, if you didn't have religion, you would have to invent it because people need this crutch. People need to have this in their life. Someone telling them it's going to be okay. You know, when your kid wakes up from the nightmare, you go into the room, you say, it's going to be all right. It's just a nightmare. Don't worry about it, right? And your kid goes, thanks. Maybe they come to sleep in your bed or whatever. Whatever the case is, whatever you do to calm your children down. And that's really comforting for the child. So everybody in the human in the human world, everybody in the human world, Dave, needs that, and we never really grow out of that need, and so we come up with all these ideas because the thing is this: there's Catholicism, there's Hinduism, there's Islam, there's Buddhism, there's Mithraism, there's Jainism. There's Tao, all the isms, right? And they all have their ideas, and they're all, they're not all the same. They're all similar, but they're quite, marked differences. But they can't all be right. You think?
No, maybe they are. They can't be right if they're all different.
Well, that's the thing. But
are any of them right? Is my question.
Well, that's it. But you find people that are exactly right. Good question. But you find people that are willing to kill other people because they don't believe what they believe. It's like, when Gulliver goes to Lilliput. Remember Gulliver's Travels? One of the best books ever written. Don't read the children's version, read the original Jonathan Swift. Anyway, so he goes to Lilliput, and they're at war with Blefuscu, another nation across the sea there. And then, what Gulliver finds out? You know why they're at war? Well, the Blefuscans prefer to open an egg at the bottom, at the rounded part.
Here we go.
Whereas the Lilliputans prefer to open it at the pointy end, at the head, and they can't understand why the Blefuscans would open it at the bottom. Where the popo is.
Makes no sense.
That's where your popo is. It's obscene. It's grotesque. Forget it doesn't make any sense. Clearly, we must bring our top egg opening philosophy to them. We must civilize these people who open the egg at the bottom. You can't do that. So, and if you look at our wars, you look at my spaghetti monster is better than your spaghetti monster. It's like, what? Yeah, but that's where we are, Dave. This is insane.
Yeah.
But I just can't condone any organization or individual or group of individuals that have immense wealth and don't actually do anything
they collect more
really,
wealth.
Well,
that's the doing part.
Yeah,
and they hoard all the really good information in their vault.
Yeah,
never to see the light of day again.
Yeah, it's dreadful. I think it's dreadful. I think it's a dreadful situation.
So I like St Mary's Cathedral in the city, who's in Australia we had a loophole in the paying taxes. If your building wasn't complete, you didn't need to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't complete the building on purpose. And then when it was discovered that they'd had that loophole going for 150 years or something, they said, you better complete the building because we have to start charging the tax, right? And so they did. They forced them to complete the building, and now they've got to pay tax. And it's like, oh, I've got to pay taxes. Yeah, well, you haven't for a while, right? So shush it. And I think that's really, really important. That's all for that reason, Mecca, that you brought up about, all the wars and people hating on each other and my religion's better than your religion, or I'll kill you. Right?
I kill you!
I kill you! So we're not doing that voice for any other reason except that it's comical. I abandoned religion because of that. And when you have a sprightly, happy, usually young person coming, knocking on the door, selling their religion, I said, has your religion ever been to war? Has there ever been a conflict? Has there been one? Let's just Google it while you stand here. Yeah, because if they have, I don't want a part of it. Yeah. And then my follow-up question, that usually gets them going. How do you feel about aliens? That filters them out pretty quickly. And but where I live, I have an 80-meter driveway that's all uphill. That is the biggest filter for religious types that don't tend to make it. Not even the intrepid make it up the driveway on foot. I had an Uber Eats the other day, Meccy, where clearly the husband and wife team, he drove and she delivered. She got to the top and she couldn't even speak without, and pause the panting that she had from the hill. And I said, thank you, just leave it where you are. She goes, no, I'm good. And she, you know that when you're panting so much that you need to swallow, but you can't afford the time between the pants to swallow. And then she swallowed, and they had to double pant for a while. And then extra 5 steps up was killing her.
And Dave used her bones for toothpicks. What?
Yeah. It made really good stock. So, but the food was cold.
Well, I said by the time she got up to it, it was boiling at the bottom.
It was stone cold. It was like it was from yesterday. It was so cold. And so I don't know. Look, the poor thing. All I'm saying is, I sympathise for the person because I really thought that husband could have driven the car up, but didn't. And anyway,
walk, woman, run.
To walk. It's awful. But different societies. You know what I mean. So, and I'm not gonna preach. That what I've found was there's very few religions that are open and willing enough to want to change. And one of those things that came up yesterday in the news was about intelligent design.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, so this was the adaptation of intelligent design into Catholicism in order to cope with humans. There you go. Humans. Yes, that'll do. For humans to having been created, even though we were created already in the creation myth, it was it was reworded as intelligent design in case it wasn't God. They still call it God at the moment, but the whole plan is that that phrase was there as a get out of jail free, keep loving us after aliens land, and then declare that they were the ones that made us. And that's the little get out of jail free for Catholicism. And I think that's really interesting. There aren't many others that are willing to make amendments to their preaching to allow aliens into their scripture. And I think it'll be the death of their religions if there ever was a declaration that, we've been with your society since we made you. Oh, really?
Yeah, so Scientologists, that's the very basis of their religion. Hinduism, you can argue, that's the very basis, or very, very basic tenet of their religion. If you actually look at the texts, the Hindu texts, of course there were others. I mean, they talk about, other planets, for crying out loud, in their religious texts, and spacecraft, etc., Vimana, whatnot. So yeah, you're right, though. It's really the Abrahamic religions that have a problem here, for the most part, because it is a fairly.
But there's a considerable irony in that the Abrahamic religions all stemmed from the rewriting of the Sumerian text.
Yeah, I know, right?
All of the borrowing came from aliens came down. They went, we can't have aliens. We'll call them God. And I'm not trying to hate on anyone who's a religious person. Really, I'm really not. But when you read the text, now the scholars of the world are considering that the Sumerian text was the precursor to the Abrahamic religions text. So, look, it's not me. Don't hate on me. Because I hate the hate mail, Mecky. I get a lot of that. So I just want to put it out there. Look, it's not my opinion. We just bring it. We bring you the news. That's what we bring.
Bring it.
Bring it. Don't bring it. And if you're, a big pharma or which we'd like to hear from you if you want to sponsor us, big pharma or big coal or someone, right? Sure. So, we'll take the money. It's all good. We'll perpetuate our story, not yours. And you've got to be prepared for us to give you some grief. But all in all, it's better for you. Right? That you're open and transparent, but not with us, but with someone, and I don't care who it is.
Yeah, sure.
See how I did that? I got myself I got my car, at least at my car.
Yes, man, I was going to say, who are you going to get to start your car tomorrow?
Yeah, that's right.
Bob! Hey, you always want to drive my car, Bob. Here's your chance. Come on, Bob.
Everyone knows someone called Bob. And, so my neighbour, I get the neighbour. That's the one that's going to be first on the barbecue when the revolution comes. And I'll get him to start it tomorrow.
Zombies?
Oh, man, I got another nosebleed. That's crazy.
Oh, jeez, right now?
Yeah, but I can keep talking.
See?
I can
talk. But that's the problem. You shouldn't have disrespected our betters.
Do you know what they've done? They've pushed the button.
They've pushed all the buttons, my friend.
No, they pushed the button. That'll stop him. No, he's still talking.
More blood. Stop the clotting. Oh, it's funny. I'd cry if I didn't laugh a lot. I'd be curled up in a corner. I reckon. If I didn't have a comical outlet, I'd be, I don't know. It wouldn't be pretty sad. I can tell you that. That's a fact. It wouldn't be pretty at all. But,
a famous Australian poet, Mickey, once said, "Laugh or die." Jimmy Barnes.
And look, that's I agree. I mean, humor. So Freud is interesting. Freud says humor is a defense mechanism. Because Because whenever something unexpected or scary or something that happens, we laugh. It's a giggle, right? It's a chuckle reflex. So I think there's a lot to that. I think, in fact, that laughing is exactly that, a defense mechanism that has, I guess, come about over time, that allows us to diffuse our tension, our fear, right? Because if you can laugh at it, then it's not so bad, right? It's not so bad. You can diminish it in your mind, at least, right? And then if it does turn out to be bad, then at least you're more equipped to deal with it than you might have been before. So laughing is a good thing, because as soon as you stop laughing, as soon as you give up hope, well, it's all over, really. It's no longer it's nothing that you can do anymore about it. I mean, you're done. You're stuffed. So it is important to laugh. It's probably the most critical thing that we have. So like I said, Freud said, laughing is definitely a defense mechanism. It's definitely something we have so we can deal with stress and unpleasant situations, etc. Trauma, in fact, right? And if you look at the world today, oh my Lord, you like either you curl up in a ball, lie down in a corner, and go, man, I rock myself to death. I'm rocking myself to death, or you laugh. And you, with your humor, you try to bring attention to the things that aren't right or quite right, and that's probably the best way to deal with it, in my opinion. I think we should use humor more frequently. Not crude humor, mind you, but intelligent humor. Humor that the court jester type of humor. The court jester was around, so I guess so that the kings and queens and such could retain a modicum of humility, right? For the same reason, Julius Caesar had a guy behind him saying, thou art mortal, always making him remember that he's a human being, because, those guys tended to believe that they're gods after some time. And that's, of course, not true at all. They're not gods. But, if everybody adores you and, thousands and thousands of people cheering for you, and you can do pretty much anything you want, then, you might forget that you're not a god. And that's what humor does, right? It does bring people to a level. And as soon as you have any kind of political regime stopping that, right? I don't care if it's fascist or so-called democratic or autocratic. As soon as they shut down on the humor and they shut down on criticism, right? It's all over. It's done. You're done. It's just this society has nowhere to go. I mean, I don't think there are too many stand-up comedians in North Korea that make fun of the leadership there. I think the same goes for Russia. I don't think there are terribly many comedians in Russia that make fun of Putin in Russia. I mean, outside of Russia, sure enough, but in Russia, not likely. Not something that we're going to see a lot of. And if they were, then we wouldn't see too much of those comedians anymore. They wouldn't be around anymore. But this is really where we are, and this is really the problem that we have at the moment. Which brings me to a really disturbing piece of news I want to share with you all, and this is around baby factories, right? So there was a report I was listening to on the radio about this baby factory, and this was I think it was in Nigeria. Yeah, that's right, Nigeria. So they raided a baby factory in Nigeria, in Lagos, in fact, and more than 160 children were rescued, right, from there. Now the story goes back to, there was one. So this was just yesterday. There was a story in 2018. There was another story in 2019. So in 2018 again Nigeria. 2019 was the Philippines. 2017 Nigeria again. Okay. So and then 2013 and then so on. This is not a new phenomenon. This has been around for a long time. But the baby factory. So what? So what they do is they kidnap these women and girls and then rape them with the express purpose of making them pregnant so they can sell the babies. And then you go, oh, well, that's dreadful, but, they sell the babies, maybe they have a good life. Well, some of those babies are sold to adoption, but some of those babies are sold to juju makers. Now, Mackie, what is a juju maker? So a juju maker is a witch, a magician, a wizard, I don't know what you want to call it, right? Not a shaman is probably the wrong term. A person that uses baby parts to make charms. right? So these children, these babies, are sold to these juju men and women to be killed, clearly, and then made into charms. So that actually happens, and that happens a lot, apparently. I mean, like I said, there are like 4 stories over the last 5-6 years, and it keeps going and going and going. I think that's horrific if you think about it. You know, it's usually from the lower income classes, of course. These women and girls are kidnapped, but it's I mean, Dave, I mean, this is a dreadful situation.
Yeah,
I mean,
it sure is.
And you think, I mean, okay, so we talk about slavery, you know, and people smuggling, and, you know, officially there are about 6 million slaves, but you also have to understand what happens to these people, right? So clearly you would say, okay, well, these are clearly sex slaves, these women and girls, and it's not longer a statistic. So they make babies. That's what they do. They're now baby factories, and then some of those babies are adopted out, and others are killed to make medicine or magic charms or God knows what. That's the thing. So this is not made up. This is the truth. Now, this should make everybody's blood boil, right? And in this one raid alone, 160 children were rescued. In one raid in Lagos, in Nigeria. Wow. One raid, right? There apparently are hundreds of these, maybe thousands of these baby factories across Africa and certainly in Nigeria. And here we are. And again, this is about the media, right? And the unfortunate thing is, these babies are the wrong color. They're black. They're African babies, right? So, you know, I mean, it's in the media, but there's no where's the outrage that we saw over the school shooting in the States? I'm not saying one evil is better than another evil, or one evil is worse than another evil. I'm saying evil is evil.
Everyone should have a certain amount of rage towards all of the evil.
Correct. Where is the appropriate and measured response? So not a single post on Facebook on this. Not one. And I've got many Facebook friends, and I've got many streams and such that I get into my stream, right? Not a single outrage over this, even though it was in the media. Yeah, right. And this was part of BBC News. It was everywhere, right? But the point is, this is not a story you have to go digging for. It was reported. It's made the headline, right? This raid happened, and then now it's gone off the news cycle again. But the point is, there was. I mean, I'm not saying that the shootings in the States are okay. Don't get me wrong, but there was outrage, right? It was a big hoo-ha, and then over this, nothing. Like, I mean, no one even mentioned it on Facebook. Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, well, okay, clearly not really. People aren't really interested in that. You know why they're interested in the shootings in the States, Dave?
No.
Because it could happen to them.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we all live in Australia or Europe, right? In a first world nation where our kids go to school, and one of the crazy threats that we have is a person could get a firearm or firearms, and they could walk into a school and they could start shooting. That could happen, right? I mean, it's conceivable, right? Mm-hmm. And it's less likely, possible, but less likely that that the children would be kidnapped and used in baby factories, simply because I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm saying it's a less likely scenario in first world nations, even though the first world nations are slowly sliding into second and third world nations. Certainly, America is dropping its relative standard of living. But it's interesting to see the reaction of people or non-reaction. Not really something that I have to worry about, so I'm not going to get outraged. Now, nobody thinks that, Dave. Nobody thinks, I don't have to get out. They just don't get outraged. So subconsciously, it's like, I don't have to worry about this, so I don't need to rage. Mm-hmm. I don't need to have an opinion, right? Because it's not really something that's going to affect me. It's too far away. It's Africa. Africa. It's, all bad things happen in Africa anyway. It's okay. I don't have to worry about it.
Surely that Nigerian prince can deal with it.
Yeah.
I paid him enough.
It's a dreadful thing. I mean, seriously. And you know what else? No. This is I want to get off because this is really disturbing me, right?
Keep going.
But what what we see recently now? So I grew up in Europe. I lived in Europe for 20 years thereabouts. Okay, in Germany, I was born there. I grew up there. And if the temperature hit 30 degrees by 10 a.m., mm-hmm. we would go home. It would be a heat-free day. All right, heat. So it's too hot, you go home. 10 a.m.
Yep.
And I think that happened once or twice in my childhood. Okay, once or twice, no more than that. Similar in winter, if the snow is like 30 centimeters, okay, you don't have to go to school. Because I used to ride my bike to school, and I've ridden through 30 centimeter snow. It's quite exhausting. But you wouldn't even drive, or the buses wouldn't go. It's just too much snow. You go, okay, well, today's a snow day. But heat days just didn't exist. And now I'm looking at the weather map for Europe. I think this was yesterday or the day before. I think it might have been yesterday. So I'm looking at Berlin, 34 degrees. Frankfurt, 37 degrees. Bern, Switzerland, 35 degrees. Paris, 39 degrees.
Wow.
Bordeaux, that's where they make wine in Bordeaux.
Yeah, not anymore. Not this year.
Not this year. They make raisins. 40 degrees in Bordeaux. 40. What they did is they shut down concerts and large public gatherings, etc., because people will die if they don't. And not only that, none of these, or maybe it's a bit better now, but none of the European or Central European and Northern European homes have air conditioning.
That's right. They've never needed it.
No. Central heating, yes. Air conditioning, it's like in Australia, right? You move to Brisbane, Queensland, you leave your coat in Sydney if you're moving there from Sydney, right? You don't need it.
Yep.
You'll bring a heater.
Don't need it.
You burn it. No heater needed, right?
Yep.
And now they do, because it's gotten unseasonably cold. My point here is this. This is not the first heat wave. We had a heat wave, a couple of years ago.
That's
where
right.
quite a few people died as well. What they died from? Heat stroke.
Yep.
That's it. Heat stroke. Because none of the homes, none of the apartment buildings, the shopping centers are different. Shopping centers have to be air conditioning, simply because of the way they're designed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. So you can always find refuge in a shopping center,
That's
I guess.
right.
But family homes and apartment buildings, no. Office buildings, I guess they have air conditioning as well, but it's more geared toward heating rather than cooling, right?
Yeah.
So this is seriously, guys, 40 degrees in Bordeaux, 37 degrees in Frankfurt. These are Australian temperatures, except in Australia now we get up to 50 degrees.
That's right.
No,
these are rookie numbers compared to what we have.
Rookie numbers.
and we don't die of heat stroke because we're made of sterner stuff.
In Montpellier, in France, it registered 44 degrees.
That's crazy.
We're talking Dubai here.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a guy they interviewed, 86 years old. He said he's born there in Paris, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Toulouse. And he says this is the worst heat wave I've ever seen. He's 86 years old.
Yeah.
And not only that, now this is the kicker, okay? This is where it gets all really interesting. The increased use of air conditioners and fans, etc., what does that do? It forces you to use more electricity. And France was forced to import electricity from neighboring countries. Now, you just think of the future now. Think of the future where our electricity grid is what it is. Now, in America, you have a big problem. The United States has a massive issue. Your grid is old. And your grid is also prone to brownouts and blackouts. It just is. There's been no investment made over the last.
And they've got electrical time sharing.
Yeah. And in fact, when I grew up, I went to Istanbul, where part of my family lived, every summer. And every summer, Istanbul is a big city. It's a world city, right? So, and Turkey is not really a third world country either. But in summer, electricity would be available, for a certain number of hours in a certain neighborhood, and it'd be rolling from neighborhood to neighborhood.
Yep.
Same with water.
Wow.
Same with water. Water would be available from, I don't know, let's say 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. in your neighborhood. So you fill up the tub and do whatever you do. That's what you do. And that's where we're going now. And they did it to avoid undue stress on the system, because if everybody had used electricity or water or whatever, then the system wouldn't have been able to.
Because there's not enough power for everyone to consume it. That's right. So
it simply isn't.
Yeah. So I was talking resources the other day, in line with the upcoming recession, and I just want to brush past that really, and say that a recession kills hyperinflation.
Yeah.
That's the way to fix hyperinflation or inflation in general. Is just have a recession, and then no one has anything to spend, and the prices have to end up, rationalizing. So, moving on, imagine if you wanted to disrupt. If you were an evil, I put evil at the front. If you're a competing nation that would like to just, cause, say, Sydney to have 8 million refugees. It's pretty much the population is something like that, right?
Yeah.
Then all you do is you just need to kind of blow up one thing. And that would be our water source, and that's it, done.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any, within a week, there would be 8 million refugees trying to leave Sydney and move somewhere else. And I was thinking about that from a water point of view, and I thought energy production, absolutely the same. We were going into this winter thinking we had to have rolling blackouts.
Yeah.
Because we turned off all this coal-fired power, and we don't have any alternatives.
Yeah, but it's not over yet, Dave. I mean, we're at the beginning of winter here in Australia, and this is the coldest winter we've ever had.
Yep.
We've never in Brisbane is unseasonably cold. Here in Sydney, the temperatures have been colder for June than they ever have been.
That's right.
So it is the thing. I mean, you can deny.
And we had the coldest summer, but it doesn't mean that here we go. Ice age is coming, right?
No. So what we're seeing here, our weather system, our global weather system, right? The way our atmosphere works, it's a really complex and complicated thing, right? And it's been pretty good. I mean, it's been operating pretty predictably over several hundred, if not thousands of years, right? I mean,
allowed the human species to have predictable farming regimes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been a boon, right? I mean, of course, there have been extreme events all along. I'm not saying there haven't. There have been a mini ice age in Europe back in probably 1,000 years ago, and then other events as well. Of course. But it was pretty warm. It was pretty predictable for a long period of time. We're moving out of that relatively predictable and mild kind of climate into something new. Now, I just want to quickly give you some data points, and then I'll throw it over to my esteemed colleague. Spain, hottest May since the beginning of the century. Temperatures are forecast to hit 43 degrees Celsius this weekend. Forest fires in Catalonia, including one that could go up to 20,000 hectares. Water is so low in large stretches of Italy's largest river, the Po, that locals can walk through the middle of the expanse of sand, and wartime shipwrecks are resurfacing. Wow. In the UK, temperature expected to reach 33 degrees Celsius in southern England, while a level 3 heat health alert has been issued for London. In the United States, a third of the population of the United States was advised to stay indoors due to record temperatures. That was this Wednesday. In India, Delhi has recorded a maximum temperature of at least 42 degrees Celsius on 25 days this summer. Climate change is causing this. You can argue it up and down as much as you like. And then we in Australia, we're getting another La Nina, most likely. There's a very high chance of getting another La Nina, which means, again, high rainfalls, etc., but it also means massive growth. So as soon as the next El Nino comes, which is a dry spell, I predict massive fires again, because they had like 3-4 years of La Nina, where the forests and such could grow back, and there'd be a lot of brush and whatnot, right? Which we can't really clear it all; it's just too much. And there'll be massive fires. So in not this year, maybe the year after or the year after that, I predict it could be a dreadful fire season yet again for the eastern seaboard, not the western seaboard. But Dave,
that's just here in Australia. In America's west, they've had lakes that have been disappearing since, say, August 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Even the one that supplies all the water to Vegas is almost completely empty. It's going down 6 feet a week now, and it provides both hydropower and water source. And when it's gone, there's nothing. There isn't anything. You can't sustain, Vegas with nothing. Also, California, right? There isn't. Money doesn't buy you love. Becky says, John Paul and Ringo. And listen, the messages have been out there. If you just typed into Google California lake nearly gone, you'll find stories that go back to August 2014, and no one's paid any attention to it.
Why would you?
Well, because it's not going to affect me today.
Today.
Exactly,
right?
Right? Yeah. And that's my point with you, that watching these lakes disappear, and I've been watching some YouTubes of people going in week after week and doing a live video from the lake, only to discover that thing that was only just breaching the surface is now completely exposed. It looks like a speedboat now on dry land. And they've had to, the boat ramp has 200 meters been extended from where it was an active boat ramp. Now it's been 200 meters. Yes.
Wow.
It is extraordinary how much water's been lost.
Things
and
like that.
It's
really
not the only lake where it's all going.
It's amazing.
So, yeah, I forget all the lakes now, to be honest, all the lake names. But I'm
sure
Lake
Baikal, which is the largest freshwater lake in the world, has shrunk. If you look at the satellite pictures of Lake Baikal, which is in Russia, the Central Asia, and you look at how it has shrunk over the few decades, few decades, it is actually terrifying. Because the thing is, people thought, how could we ever run out of water, Mackie? With like the whole surface of the planet is water. I said, yes, it is, you moron. It's salt water. Hello.
Yeah, we need the rain to make it happen.
We need fresh water, right? And we need precipitation, 100% to go through the filtration system that our mountains really are, right? Mm-hmm. As well as our forests. So we need to be able to have that water coming.
But that lake is where the aliens live, Mackie.
There are some theories.
I know. I threw it at you.
Yeah, well, you're right. That's true. I mean, Lake Baikal is the site of, in effect, of a whole bunch of underwater things as well. They haven't really,
It's Russia's ranch, Mickey.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yes, it is. Which you should watch. But the water loss is catastrophic.
Yeah.
In fact, it is so much. There's now boats. Okay. Now. Okay. How much has it lost? 50%. 50% of its volume. Now that's a lot, everybody. Right? Just so we're all on the same page. It is
Lake Mead, Colorado River. That's the one.
Yes.
It's at its end.
Yes. And the RLC too. You heard of the RLC, right? That's pretty much dried up.
Yeah.
So once this fresh water goes, what do we do, everybody?
Nothing.
So if you want to be nosy, forget prepping, forget all that, right? You want to ensure you're going to be fine over the intervening decades and centuries to come. Invest in desalination plants. If get your community together.
Here we go again.
No, I'm serious.
I remember. You remember when we had the largest drought, 10 years, and all our lakes dams were empty, and we bought a desal plant, and then it rained.
Yeah. And
we didn't have to use it.
I'm just pasting something in for Dave into the chat.
Good.
That's the RLC. Before and after.
And there's the music. So this is Dave Mackie Shiny signing out. This is the end of the first hour of episode 535. When we come back, we're going to be talking about prophecies for the last show, but it's the recap. Stay tuned. It's really important. Oh, and take the time to donate to the station.